Are you tired of the same old pro wrestling? Then check out the amazing action on Powerslam.tv, the biggest indie pro wrestling channel in the world. Get over 4,000 hours of the best pro wrestling events from over 110 of the biggest names in the industry from over 15 countries around the globe. Get your free trial today at Powerslam.tv.
The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
Don't you want to sound rich?
Welcome to the 67th episode of Social Suplex's podcast about AEW with a proclivity for positivity. Welcome to All Things Elite. My name is Austin Sumwitz, and I am the host of this show, and I'm joined always by my good friend Floyd Johnson. Floyd, how you doing, man?
I am doing well. This is a very happy Sunday. I know we don't talk a lot, about ourselves personally, but you read it today. I actually had a little story that happened yesterday. I did see that, yeah. Yeah, it happened yesterday to me. I had to work yesterday at 7 a.m., so me and my wife got up really early and went to IHOP so we could have Saturday breakfast. We were sitting there eating, and then a cop walked past us to go to the bathroom, and I looked at him, and I thought I recognized him. And while he's in the bathroom, I was like, yes, that cop used to be at Crossroads Mall. That's a mall in Oklahoma City that I used to work with. My mom was the manager of a survey place. It's something that doesn't exist. Everything's online, but he used to walk around with clipboards and, ask people to do surveys. For all you old people out there that might have experienced this. Well, my mom was there for 15, 20 years in there. So I basically grew up in that mall. Now, there was a cop named Kelly. I'm not going to give his last name, anonymity and stuff because he's a cop. But he worked Crossroads Mall. He'd be there all day. And it was like I grew up and he was always there. We talk. When I was walking around, basically the mall would babysit me. I would just walk around the mall all day and leave my mom alone while she worked. That would be my babysitter. He would give like tokens and we would chat, right? Well, he's the guy that passed and he stopped by on the way back. And I said, hey, you used to work at Crossroads, right? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, your name's Kelly. And he's like, oh, good memory. And I was like, yeah, my mom, you remember Quick Test? And I told him about working there. And then, I took a moment because, cops have been kind of taking a beating lately. It's been like everybody's like, arrest the cops that did this and that. And I agree with all of that. This is really not about that. I just really felt the need to tell him that when I'm having these conversations with friends and family and I tell them that I don't have the bad experiences with police that other people may have, one person that comes to mind has always been him. Because he was always there at the mall. I always felt a level of safety. I knew I could go to him if anything happened. And I never felt like he thought I was a suspect or anything like that. He was just always there doing his job. And in my mind, I was telling my wife, cops' jobs are kind of like customer service or an offensive line on the NFL team. You don't hear when cops do a good job. you really only hear when something bad happens. So I really wanted to let him know that as far as part of my life and seeing him every day, I knew I was safe, and I thanked him, and, I never had any problems with him. He says, man, thank you. I didn't hear that. And he asked how I was doing, told me he was retiring in a few months. And I was like, thank you. So after that, we finish our dinner and we go out and we go to pay. And then the waitress like, I think he took care of your check. And he had already drove off. But yeah, the police officer that I know my whole life took care of my check. So that is a positive story out there. I imagine some people have had different experiences, but most of my experiences with police have been positive. So I just really wanted to say that this was not a political speech or anything like that. This was just telling you a feel-good story that happened to me yesterday. I hope no one takes this at any more than that. But let's talk about some wrestling.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's like, you don't need to really read too much into that. It's just kind of a nice, heartwarming story that doesn't need to be read into, and it's quite easy to see what's positive about that. And that's kind of what we bring to this show, just a lot of positivity, and that's a great story. Definitely a cool little pay it forward thing. So yeah, shout out to him. But anyways, we got AEW this week. We got some big news, and of course we are 1 week away from the start of Fyter Fest, the 2-week event that's taking place on TNT, and it's going to be an incredible week of shows. We've got more news also coming up in the future, but real quick, I want to start this show off by reminding you that this episode of All Things Elite is brought to you by PowerSlam TV. PowerSlam TV is where you get access to over 4,000 hours of content from over 110 of your favorite wrestling brands from countries all around the globe, right on your laptop and mobile devices. And if you use the code SocialSuplex, you can get your first month completely free. And also, I want to make sure you are downloading this fine show on Google or Apple Podcasts. Please leave a rating and a review. And if you are so inclined to, you can also leave a donation through our new podcast provider, Red Circle. And be sure to support us as well by following us on Twitter and social media. Follow the podcast at AT Elite Pod. Follow Social Suplex at Social Suplex. And follow myself at SZoomer4. And follow Floyd at Floyd Johnson Jr. on Twitter. Now, we can get started off with the big news of the week, which is, of course, that on the day we're recording this is Sunday. So we are 3 days away from Fyter Fest. It starts this week. It's a complete, just stacked card of shows that's pay-per-view quality, but it's being given away on free TV on TNT for 2 straight weeks. And there is a lot of matches to look forward to that we will be going down after we cover everything that happened this week on Dark and Being the Elite and Dynamite this week. But it's got a lot to look forward to, and definitely considering everything that's going on in the world, a show like this is going to be something that can really lift a lot of people's spirits. So I'm crazy excited for Fyter Fest. Floyd, how you looking into Fyter Fest coming up? Are you getting pumped?
I am super pumped up for it. As a special thing that we'll be doing for Fyter Fest, we will actually be recording our reactions right after the show. So yes. Wednesday night, right after the show, it'll be me, Austin, and our special guest, Jeremy Donovan from Keeping It Strong Style, to give an outside view of everything we loved and liked from the Fyter Fest night 1, and then we're going to do that again on the 8th. So just to let you know, and just to revise, our shows, next week's show is going to come out on Wednesday, the day of Fyter Fest, day 1, and then the next week's show after that is going to come off the day of Fyter Fest week 2. So there won't be any new shows that weekend. Those will be the shows for the week. But I am super excited anytime I get to see Cody one week, FTR the next. I mean, we'll go down the schedule, but having Cody in a show is always going to give it at least a B in my mind.
That's all it takes. You just put Cody on the card, and then you're like, okay, I'm going to get quality on this show no matter what. So we're good no matter what else happens. Now, we got to talk about Being the Elite this week. So this week we had a really interesting Being the Elite. There was a lot of funny bits on this one. I especially love the little thing that we saw at the end of the complete end of the show, where they edited the animated Nick and Matt outro where they plug everything and talk about pro wrestling tees and all their store stuff, they added blood onto Matt's head because he's been gigging himself repeatedly. So I thought that was a really clever touch, and I was just like, because I was like, it got to the outro, and I'm like, oh my god, Matt died. But then I was like, oh no, they just gigged him, and he's going through everything else completely normal, besides the fact that he's covered in blood, which I thought was a really funny touch, considering the amount of bits they've been doing with that specific thing. Another moment on this show on this one that I liked actually was a little bit of a subtle one, because obviously a lot of people have been going, we talked about this last week too, about Kenny Omega and how a lot of people are comparing Kenny Omega's stuff that he's been doing in AEW to the stuff he did in New Japan a few years ago, and how that was when he was considered the best wrestler in the world. Kenny brings it up to Colt, who's like, he comes in, he's like, oh yeah, we're joking, I'm gonna come and chase me, and Kenny's not having any of it. He tells him, this is it. If I see you again, if you do any of this again, like, I'm not kidding with you. I will beat you within an inch of your life, and you will not survive the onslaught that I will bring to you. It's like, I'm done with this comedy stuff. It works for you, but I've lost my edge. I need to get back to where I was. And it was a real slight serious moment that we don't see often on BTE. A lot of times it's a lot more joking. And like we said the week before that, we literally had Kenny and Colt Cabana being chasing all around the Daily's place. But now Kenny's got tapped into a little bit of what people wanted to see from Kenny and what people want to see more of. So I thought that was a nice little bit too. But overall, it was a pretty solid episode of Being the Elite with some nice little funny bits.
Yes, my favorite part of the show is that, in fact, Nick and Matt are not just Christian.
No.
Christian AF. As a person, I find that very, very funny, because if you know what AF traditionally means, saying you're Christian AF is kind of weird.
But it's okay. He was like, get the heck out. He didn't use the hell word. No, he didn't say that. So you can see he's very Christian. So
they're Christian as faith. That's how I'll take it.
Yeah, just take it. That's what they mean. Yeah.
Yes,
it's like how FTR was being taken in so many different places. That's what it really means.
Yes, it's Christian as faith. No, I thought that's funny. I'm definitely ordering that shirt this week. We like to throw it out there because we both order a lot from Pro Wrestling Tees. July 1st, noon, to I believe it's July 4th at noon. Or July 5th at noon. They're doing their 4th of July sale, 20% off everything. So make sure you order your stuff on Pro Wrestling Tees or shop at AEW.com. They pretty much come from the same place. But yeah, they got a lot of good stuff out there. And this week they announced, and I wonder if you got a kick out of this, the temporary Cody neck tattoos.
Oh, I got a mega kick out of that.
Yes, because it's not, and it's funny because they could have just called it a temporary tattoo. No, it's a temporary neck tattoo.
If you wear it anywhere else, you're doing it wrong.
When you wear it anywhere else, that's exactly what I was about to say. You wear it anywhere else, you're doing it wrong, and I will have to shame you. And I'm not a negative person. I'm positive. I'm gonna hug you, and then I'm gonna whisper in your ear, "You did it wrong."
Oh my god! Like, it's tempting. It's so tempting because on one hand I'm like, I don't really think I need this. I'm like, it's whatever. Like, I'll probably grab maybe one or two shirts to support some of my favorite wrestlers. That's the other thing. Yeah. For the sale, it's not just AEW. It's everybody that's on Pro Wrestling Tees. So if you want to support your favorite wrestler, go ahead and do that because this sale is a perfect time to do so. However, there's a slight bit that's tempting. It's just like, I want to get that freaking tattoo just to just slap it on my neck and just be like, look, guys, I'm Cody. I'll bleach my hair too. I'm going to the hair salon in like a couple weeks. So like, I'll just bleach my hair blonde and then we'll be good.
Yes. You don't know this, I have rather dark skin. So I don't know how many of you listeners know that I'm black. If I try to put that thing on me, I'm afraid it's not going to show up. It's like, in my life, I am a very happy person. It's the one thing I'm jealous of white people on. Y'all tattoos show up amazing on you.
It's a better canvas.
Yes, it's like I got a Florida State tattoo on my leg, and people are like, is that Washington Redskins? Is that this? And they're just guessing, and I'm like, okay, I have to stop and flash a light on it. That's what tattoo is. So I'm like, and that's very annoying. So I am hoping the neck tattoo shows up, and that's big. And if it doesn't, I'm just going to have to get my fair-skinned friends Sydney and Austin to rock the tattoo, so people can see it.
You'll have to tweet out to see how the results are, and if it doesn't work out, then I'll grab me a couple of them and then just slap it on there, and then
I will definitely send that out. Now you give me something to looking forward to. It's like, okay, because I'm ordering the Monday during the sale, so when it gets here, I'm gonna be like, yes, I'm gonna put it on and post a picture of my neck tattoo.
And when I put it on, my mom will be more disappointed with me than she already is with the whole pro wrestling thing. So it's a 2-for-1 special. So it'll be perfect. But
I would love to be there for your mom's reaction.
Oh my god!
Especially if you don't tell her it's a temporary tattoo. You just come back. You come from outside and be like, "Hey, look what I got!" Oh god!
Oh no! And she does not like tattoos at all. My cousin got this really sick Legend of Zelda tattoo on his shoulder, which is it's the Triforce, and on each piece of the Triforce, it's one of the characters from Wind Waker. So you got Zelda, Link, and Ganon, and it looks sick. And my mom's just like, no, why? And I'm just like, you can't tell me that doesn't look sick. So if I come home with any tattoos, like she's like, if that's not temporary, you get out of my house.
Yes, if she even if she liked it, she would bury it just so and then she'd probably tell your dad in private, man, that was a pretty cool tattoo.
Oh, I could get a tattoo of Donny Osmond, Bon Jovi, and Bryan Adams all combined, and she would still tell me, like, you get that removed right now, even though those are like her 3 favorite artists of all time.
Well, tell your mom Floyd is a Donny Osmond mark. I love me some Donny Osmond.
Okay. Will do. I didn't even know that, so now you've just made it with her. That's all she needed to know.
Yes.
That's all she needed to know. Now, let's get into the results from AEW Dark from June 23rd, 2020. We'll go down the results for you guys if you haven't seen it. We had Brian Cage and Robert Anthony taking on each other in a match that lasted all but 2 minutes because Brian Cage just murdered Robert Anthony, as he's been doing with a lot of people recently. We had a tag team between David Ali and Musa versus SCU with Frankie Kazarian and Christopher Daniels. SCU was able to get the victory on that one. Pineapple Pete was back in action. He took on Sean Spears, the chairman, and Sean Spears was able to get the victory on that one.
Yeah, I want to add one thing on the Sean Spears. So I told you about the whole idea of the loaded glove.
I was waiting for you to get on this.
Yes, I told everyone about the idea of the loaded glove. If you notice, that worked into this match. He put the metal in his hand. Now, you have to know kayfabe to understand this. In wrestling kayfabe, if you put a Corolla coins or anything in your hand, it then makes your hand weigh a lot. It's not real. If you put a roll of coins in your hand and hit someone, it's going to hurt just about the same as if you just hit them. But in wrestling and kayfabe, having the metal in your hand makes your hand weigh more, and that's why you knock the person out. So that's how they did the thing. And the not so subtle at all thing where he knocked out Pineapple Pete and then handed the metal to Tully Blanchard. Now this is the weird thing to me. And I don't know if you actually watched it. I don't know the last time a referee checked someone after the match. So why did he have to pull the medal out and hand it to Tully right after the match was over?
I don't know about that. It was like, too, is that
it was just like it didn't make any sense. I'm like, I know it's all kayfabe, but I play along. Don't get me wrong, I play along, but that was just like, why the hell would you take the medal out of your glove? You're just trying to get caught.
I mean, the other thing too is that Sean's only been using that glove for a couple weeks now, so you could just chalk it up to him still getting used to the whole tactic.
He's new to it. He doesn't know how to get it.
Yeah, so
I
I feel
understand.
like as things go on and he continues to use the black glove and he continues to wrestle on Dark and Dynamite, I think the way that he gets away with it is going to be more and more consistent, and he won't be like, oh no. I think they just did that so that way fans could be like, who didn't know the black glove like I did, understand exactly what's going on.
That makes perfect sense, and like I said, I love the gimmick. I love it because it takes someone that used to lose a lot, and now you can explain why he wins more. Because sometimes in wrestling, a guy will be like on a losing streak, and then he'll just start winning, and there's no real explanation to why he got better all of a sudden. With this one, there's a clear explanation of why Shawn Spears is more of a threat than he was before.
Oh yeah, 100%. We then had Lance Archer destroying Griff Garrison. And then we also had the team of Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss beating Reynolds and Silver from Dark Order. It was nice to see them tag again. We then had Mel getting the victory over Killian King. I believe I pronounced, or is it Killian King? Did I pronounce that right?
It is Kylan King.
Kylan King. I was completely off.
And it's kind of good to see Mel get back. Again, this is one of those things. She's a very intimidating person, but I think the injuries are probably the reason she's back.
Most likely, yeah. We then had Scorpio Sky getting the victory over Lee Johnson. I'm still loving how Scorpio's continuing to go in the singles direction. We then had Jurassic Express beating Max Caster, Serpentico, and Luther. And then the final match of Dark, we had Orange Cassidy, OC, getting the victory over Peter Avalon. So those are your results for AEW Dark, and be sure to go on the YouTube channel if you haven't seen it yet.
I did want to add one thing with Scorpio Sky. Love Scorpio Sky. I think he's super talented. But when you look at the moves that the higher athletes have in AEW, you have Kenny Omega's One Wing Angel. You have Hangman using either the Dead Shot or the Buckshot Lariat. You have Jericho's Judas Effect. You have Cody Rhodes' Crossroads. I bring this up because I don't think the TKO is good enough.
You don't think so?
I like it, but with these devastating moves being used as finishers, I just think he needs that something to take him over the top. I think the TKOs are probably a nice setup move, but I think he needs that extra move to get him over the top. I don't know. What do you think about the move, sir?
I mean, I think the TKO is a solid move, and I think considering just the move itself, I think it's solid, but I think, like you said, there's a lot of really good finishes in AEW, and I think
could you see him pinning Jericho with that TKO? Would you buy that?
Probably. That's the thing. Yeah, you need something that's a lot more your own in order to really make that finish seem huge. So yeah. I think something a little bit more unique, something a little bit more like that fits with Scorpio Sky and his moveset and his ability, I think would be a lot better for him to just really find a finish that fits for him. Because I think that's the thing. The TKO is a good move, and it can be used as a finish, but when you get up higher in the card, you kind of need a finish that's a lot more impactful, a lot more unique, and a lot more specific to you. But
absolutely, I completely agree with that.
Yeah, that's. I think you're right on the money with that, though, so that makes complete sense. But right now, we're going to get into the AEW Dynamite for June 24th, 2020. But right before we do that, we want to let you know that support for All Things Elite is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-belt grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. They obsess over their technology developments to provide you the best tools for your grooming experience.
Yes, and I just wanted to say, when it comes to it, I have been loving the products, been using them for about 3 weeks now, and everything is looking nice and smelling nice as far as nice as that area can look. I was never a big male groomer before. It's just soap and water, keep it clean. But with this, it's like taking your grooming to that next level, and it makes you a little happier. You walk a little straighter. You have a little more cockiness to you. pun not intended. I just realized how that sounded. But you have a little more swag in your step when you're feeling fresh down there. So definitely go to the site, manscaped.com. Use the code SUPLEX to get 20% off and free shipping on your first order.
All right, now let's get into AEW Dynamite for this week. To kick off the show, we had the Lumberjack match between Mr. Mayhem Wardlow, with MJF accompanying him, versus Luchasaurus, accompanied by his fellow Jurassic Express members Marco Stunt and Jungle Boy. One thing, first of all, I fucking love Best Friends. Of course they come out dressed up as lumberjacks. Of course they do. I wouldn't expect anything less from them. But this match was really, really solid. I loved just the overall agility that these guys showed. Like, you get two big guys like Wardlow and Luchasaurus, and you expect just hard-hitting action. You don't expect a lot of, like, flippy shit, I guess. But it wasn't even that. It was just really athletic, agile moves that were performed by both of them very, very well. Wardlow hit a great, like, there was just such great moves, too. Like, I loved the shooting star press that Luchasaurus hit on the outside on all of the lumberjacks. It was just I love the kicks that Luchasaurus hits, his tail whip that he performs. Like, just, this match was way more agile than you would expect too, because you assume that these guys are going to be just hitting each other with big blows, like because like you're conditioned by other wrestling, like maybe like WWE, to expect just big guys just hitting with big shots, not exactly just moving with the quickness that these two do. And it was just a really, really solid match. Man, what did you think of this? Oh,
I will call this my Big E match of the week, because it was two big men slapping meat. I use that term because it's straight from Big E. I love it. I just love that these are two. And these are two new big guys. These are 2020 big guys. Because in 90s, probably even early 2000s, these big guys would have just threw forearms and slammed and, did a test of strength. But this is 2020. You got shooting star presses and kicks, and Wardlow's freaking athletic. And it's just that, then you still get Brandon Cutler trying to be a good lumberjack and get the two back in the ring, and then his ass gets chunked, and then they get on top of, I believe, Luchasaurus on the outside of the ring on the hillside, and he just throws them all off of him, because it was just such an impressive performance by both. I have been waiting for a Luchasaurus like singles match against someone legitimate to see what he can do, and in this one, MJF becomes the first person in AEW to pin Luchasaurus.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big accomplishment, definitely. And I also really liked how JR and Tony Schiavone pointed out that like Wardlow is really good, and like right now he's a lackey for the smug MJF. But when he breaks off and does his own thing, he's somebody that people need to watch out for, because yet you don't see him too often in the ring, because MJF is the focus. He's the main event. But Wardlow is proving to people that he can go and will go crazy when given the opportunity.
Yeah, that F10 is a freak of nature. It's like you shouldn't be able to do that to people his size. Yeah. You shouldn't be able to pick Luchasaurus up and spin him around in the air like that. It's just like, that should not be physically possible, but yeah, definitely physically possible with him.
It's like, it seems like anything's possible when you put a guy like that and just with that much athleticism. But MJF was able to distract Rick Knox, which gave Wardlow the time to hit a low blow on Luchasaurus and then hit that F10 again. But after that was over, Jungle Boy and Marco Stunt went to check up on Luchasaurus after the match, but MJF just jumps them. And then just all the lumberjacks get into the ring. Chaos starts going as everyone's beating the crap out of each other. And then Jim Ross says that Tony Khan just gave word over the headset that at Fyter Fest, it's going to be MJF and Wardlow versus Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. And I am very, very excited for that match.
Yeah, time MJF and Jungle Boy are in the ring together, I want to see it. They were mentioning that this can be kind of the rivalry going forward. Actually, Tony mentioned that on Unrestricted this week, that MJF and Jungle Boy could very much be a rivalry, one of the new rivalries that AEW's built on.
Yeah, and I think that it's something that can go for a good while too. Like, considering how MJF and Cody is going to be is the feud that will last forever, because it's the history between them is huge. But this is another really solid rivalry too, because Jungle Boy he's so pure. It's just, when you look at him, he's just a pure dude, and MJF just complete dick. So it's a perfect mesh for a rivalry, and then having the addition of Luchasaurus and Wardlow just makes it like it's two sides that are like, you can see the similarities, but you can also see the mega differences, and they're just going to collide at Fyter Fest, and it's going to be a great match, and I'm very excited for it.
Yeah, the big thing with MJF and Wardlow is that they're a business arrangement. MJF in essence pays Wardlow to be his bodyguard. So the thing is, business relationships change all the time. You got Jurassic Express with Jungle Boy, and they're friends. They are family. They hang out together when they're not wrestling. They text each other. They're on Facebook together. That's more of something that lasts for a while. But at least MJF and Wardlow know what each other are. Like, MJF probably fully expects Wardlow to turn on him one day, and he's like, okay, I'm okay with that, because I fully plan on turning on you one day. So it's just the dynamics in the relationship are pretty amazing. I just like the difference in how they interact with each other.
I think it will really translate into the match too. I think we're going to see some really good stuff there. We then found out, bless it, I was terrified about this for so long. Thankfully, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, was grateful enough to take Tony Schiavone off of the friendship timeout that he was on from last week. He's totally good. He's clear of all transgressions, so we're good. That is how virtuous and how respecting the doctor is, to how nice she is and forgiving that she is to let Tony off the hook. She was in that trash can for at least 6 hours, At least 6 hours. Even though the show's only 2 hours, but
Yeah, she was in there at least 6 hours, and she was embarrassed, and Tony wasn't there to save her. So that's his fault. But she forgave him. Dr. Britt, thank you for forgiving Tony.
And Tony, as a commentating man, I appreciate it for the forgiveness there. Forgiveness is a wonderful virtue, and I appreciate the gratitude that Dr. Britt Baker showed towards Tony. Now we had the AEW Women's Champion Hikaru Shida taking on Red Velvet. When Shida came out of the tunnel and then walked down to ringside, Penelope Ford, the number one contender, along with apologies, I'm blanking on his name. I feel terrible. Kip Sabian. I got it. Penelope Ford was there with Kip Sabian, and they were just going after Shida, just running their mouth as Shida walked down to the ring, and Shida was not dealing with it. She was not in the mood. So after she gets decked by Penelope Ford before the match begins, she then runs into the ring, beats Red Velvet within like 20 seconds, and then proceeds to immediately beat her, get out the ring, and jumps Penelope Ford, and also nails Kip Sabian with a vicious strike to the forehead and right to his sunglasses, to the point where he was missing a shade. He was missing one of his lenses. And these two had to get pulled apart before it got out of hand. I am super excited to see this matchup, because it's going to give Penelope Ford a great opportunity to showcase herself. We've seen a lot of her. She's been really hot over the last few weeks. So seeing her take on Shida is going to be a huge moment, I think. And I think I'm just loving Hikaru Shida as the women's champion. So I just want to see more of how her reign goes, and having a matchup against Penelope Ford should add to it a lot.
this segment really did heat up this match. I thought the match didn't have a lot of heat, but Hikaru Shida coming out and she's angry and staring at Penelope and they kind of reaching at each other before. Then she shows how pissed off she is because, you know what, she didn't even play with Red Velvet. Needed a face, Falcon Arrow, boom, done. Literally, and let me tell you, she was coming down towards the ring. They got in a little attack with Penelope Ford. I ran to get something to drink, and I missed the match. I literally had to rewind it because the match happened so fast. But then I realized the brawl after was like even better than that. In the background, you had Caesar Bonani, who has recently been released from NXT. He's just standing there with his eyes wide open. You know, maybe he could be an AEW recruit in the future, but he's standing there with his eyes wide open watching these women go at it. And, you know, poor Ricky Starks caught a little bit of the backlash from it. It was just like, okay, now I'm excited to see this match. I can honestly say it was like I knew the match was happening, but I didn't really have any emotional ties to it before this segment.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, and I think it's just because Penelope Ford hasn't had a ton of opportunities to showcase herself because, again, she's still working with Kip Sabian. But this segment did add to the heat of the match, and it made it feel more important, and I'm really glad for that too. And just Sheeta just looks like a fucking badass, and I love it so much. So I'm glad that this segment happened because it really added to the match, and I think it's going to showcase a lot more, and I think we'll get a lot more people focused and intrigued on seeing how this match turns out. Now, after this, we had the Fyter Fest press conference for the TNT Championship between the American Nightmare Cody and Jake Hager. When the press conference started, Hager was nowhere to be found. He was not there, and they just continued on without him. Arn Anderson talked about how he knew Cody was motivated about this matchup because of the comments made last week, and now he talks about how he thinks that Jake Hager could be doubting himself now. And then Cody talked about how his championship, how the TNT Championship represents hope in pro wrestling. He talked about how all of this stuff that's been going on since he held the title, how he's showcasing new talent and how he's giving opportunities to new people. And as he's talking about this, Jake Hager finally shows up and he brings his wife as well. He just comes up being like, "Are you ready?" They do the pose. They take the pictures for the photographers. He then taunts Cody by putting his fist to Cody's cheek. Cody doesn't take it. He slaps it away, calms everybody down. As Hager walks away and Cody starts to walk away, Hager's wife just throws a glass at him, throws some water or some drink at him, and then just pieces out. And that was the end of the press conference. And we're not sure how this is going to go. It's an interesting dynamic for sure. What are you thinking about this?
Few thoughts. First of all, the whole press conference gimmick, like the whole thing, I think I would honestly say not many on this show because I actually really enjoyed the show, but I felt like it was a swing and a miss.
You think so?
Yeah, it didn't add anything to the match to me. Now, I mean, if it did to anyone out there, you know what? That's great. Because not everything is for everybody on every show. I just didn't like it. Now, did I like what Arn said? How he used a coaching motivational tool. He basically told Cody that he wasn't ready, so Cody would prove to him that he was ready. It was like he never thought that Cody wasn't ready for Jake. He was using it as a motivational tool. Then Cody talking about what the belt meant to him and how it's hope and how Ricky Starks came with like $3 in his pocket and left with a job. I think all of that hit great. But I think that would have been just a great in-ring promo. I think the press conference setup, nothing really added to this whole match. I think it could have been Cody and Arn cutting an in-ring promo with Jake coming out basically doing the same thing. I will say His wife has the most natural. Catalina has the most natural heel heat of like any woman I've seen since Vicky Guerrero. It's like Vicky Guerrero came out and people booed her and hated her from the moment she said, "Excuse me." It's the same way with her. She has such, and I wouldn't even call it a resting bitch face. I would call it a resting angry face that you just want to immediately boo. A resting smug face. That's the best word. She has a very smug look on her face. Like she is better than you. And you immediately want to boo her. And that kind of heat, you can't teach. So I want to give her, like, even when I say I didn't like a segment, I can tell you a whole bunch of stuff I did like out of it. And her throwing the water on Cody, it's funny because I was at a con, 4 or 5 years ago. Well, I guess it was like, it has to be like 6 years ago, where Cody came as Stardust and Stephen Amell was there. And, you know, Brandy threw water in Stephen Amell's face. And I just remember that vividly. Like, it just seemed like the same actions there. And it was pretty cool. And all I had to say is Catalina better watch out because she might catch a bionic spear from Brandy. So she better not get physically involved. Like I said, there was a lot from it to take from it, but it just like, it didn't hit with me like I thought it should.
Yeah, I could see how they were trying to make it like a lot and make it feel big. And obviously press conferences are a decent way to get intrigue in a match. I mean, you see it all the time in MMA
absolutely.
and UFC.
Yeah, and if it wasn't for COVID, they could have filled it in with reporters, and I think that's what it was, is that it looked very sparse, so there wasn't a big fight feel to it.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, is that we're still continuing to use these techniques, even though we live in a COVID-lived world, and in a different circumstance where fans were in attendance and reporters were able to be in attendance, it would make it seem a lot. And you could see like camera snapping and all this kind of stuff. But without that, it just rings a little hollow. You can still see what they're doing and it makes sense. Like this should be working, but it's just not because of the world that we live in and because we can't have the same atmosphere.
Yeah, it wouldn't be honest for me to be like, man, this is the greatest thing ever, because it wasn't. It just felt like it was just something that was happening. You know what I mean? It was like I could wax poetic about a whole bunch of different parts of that show, but I honestly could say that was the one I felt what would have been a swing and a miss.
Yeah, but overall the match is still looking to be very entertaining.
I mean, Jake Hager is a beast of a man. It's like I've already seen him, but until I saw him in a bar in Gainesville, Texas, did I notice how huge that man is.
God,
like you stand next to him and it's just like you look up and he is just so, like, the best word I can use is thick, and his hands are like freaking huge. It's like, again, I always say people in MMA have a different thought, because I looked at Jake Hager and I was like, dude, I would never want to piss that man off. And people in MMA look at that dude like, I could take him. And I was like, you have a completely different mindset than me, because that dude was freaking like, it's like, I've seen intimidating people. I've been around wrestling most of my life, but it's just like, it's that one guys that you're around and you're around them and you know they have that air of confidence around them, like they know they can kick your ass. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be a thought. You're not even a threat to them. And that's kind of Jake's natural instinct, is that, you know, natural aura is aura of a badass. Like when you meet him in person, you're like, good Lord, that's a badass. And it's like, no question. It's like, yeah. So he's a very big dude, and he's always going to be believable to me because, you know, I've seen the Big Hurt in action. So
yeah, I'm trying to remember when I was at Revolution and after the show, because I remember, because when we went to the hotel room, we were over by the bar where a lot of the wrestlers just decided to stop by real quick after the show was over. And I believe I shook hands with Jake Hager. I could be wrong. That night's there's a lot that happened that night, and it's a little fuzzy for me because it's been a while. But I believe I shook Jake Hager's hand, and yeah, he's fucking huge. If I didn't shake his hand, I saw him, and he's huge. So I totally get that what you're saying there, because he's just a big dude. So, but it's a TNT championship. It's Cody. There's going to be a lot of hype surrounding it no matter what. Just this segment didn't necessarily hit the way it should have. After this, we had the Exalted One, Brody Lee, with Silver and Reynolds of the Dark Order accompanying him, teaming with Boom Boom Colt Cabana as they took on the team of Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss, who, as it goes on more and more, I'm really loving this team because just the way they work together and the chemistry that they seem to have, it's weird because it doesn't seem like this should be a team that you would expect that would work as well as it does, but it works really well. And I loved the finish of this match so much. There was a lot of high spots. Sonny and Joey were just flying all over the place and just jumping like crazy, taking huge risks and off the top rope 450s, just huge high risk dives. But the way it finished was the thing that really, really, I loved how it turned out. We had Brody, who nailed Joey Janela with the discus lariat, and then Colt Cabana, who's the legal man, comes into the ring, and then just Brody presents Joey Janela. He presents the bad boy for the pinfall for Colt, and Colt just looks at it, quickly jumps for it, and then gets the pinfall victory. He gets a win after weeks and weeks of just getting losses, and Brody's just pretty much serving him that win. Like Excalibur said, he served it on a silver platter, and he's really pushing. Like, see, you're getting wins when you're with us, buddy. Just stick with us, and this will continue. He's selling the Dark Order as much as he possibly can for Colt, and Colt seems like he's buying into it more and more. And after this, also, we had Lance Archer just demolish.
I was
wait.
going to say about this. I was going to say about that match, and I'm sorry I had myself on mute, so I started talking, and I realized you couldn't hear me.
Yeah, go ahead, brother.
No, Janela and Sonny Kiss. Very, their contrast makes them very interesting because you have this kind of dirtbag and then you have this pretty person, and it's just like it's like a negative and a positive, that opposites attract thing. That's really cool. But I think the whole Colt Cabana Dark Order storyline is my favorite thing in AEW right now as far as a storyline, because Colt Cabana is this fun-loving, happy gimmick that people haven't taken serious for years. He's the comedic match guy. He does the Superman pin. Ha ha, there's Colt. And then you find out there's this different side of Colt, that he's been professional wrestling for 20 years. He wants to win. He takes him serious. He wants to do it in a fun way, but he is a serious athlete. And he, doing it his comedic and fun way, it wasn't working out for him the way he wanted to. So the Dark Order, who does prey on people at their lowest, preyed on Colt when he needed this win. It's just such a juicy, meaty storyline because, obviously you believe it's going to end with Colt Cabana versus Brody Lee as a match. That's what you think. But this one, he serves Colt Cabana up. You're like, okay, it wasn't working doing it the old way. Why not try it Brody Lee's way? In Brody Lee's way, you get wins. You had Alex Silver, Silver and Alex Reynolds and John Silver out helping. They get, and they win. So it's just like, and it's kind of a big win because Joey Janela, even though Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss are a new tag team, they were pretty hot. They had won a couple matches. They had good chemistry, and to lose that early, kind of sets them back. So it's like, because I really didn't know who was going to win or how they were going to play the story out. So this match had a lot of intrigue for me. And I think Sonny Kiss and Joey Janela building up the story that they're still getting their chemistry right. They just started. So of course they can lose early. You know what I mean? And it doesn't hurt them. But then you have Brody Lee and Colt Cabana, and it adds so much to them moving forward. So I am very intrigued by this. The Dark Order, I was one of the few people that was like all about the Dark Order at the beginning. And, I didn't know it was going to turn into this. Now, I'm not going to act like I'm Nostradamus and figured this out before anybody, but it has really took a turn and it works. And then we found out this week on Talk is Jericho that the people that were talked about as the leader of the Dark Order were Marty Scurll, Matt Hardy, Brody Lee, and I think they were going to use Luther if Brody Lee didn't work out. So I think it's intriguing what's been going on, how that first name, it's almost like, thank God that didn't work out. Thank God he said no almost. You know what I mean? Because it ends up working out with Brody Lee. And I think having the Exalted One be such an intimidating singles presence on his own adds to the Dark Order. It's not like there's this guy that's 5'7", no disrespect to short people, There's not like it's this guy that's 5'7" that needs a lot of help. It's this guy that is completely intimidating on his own, and he rules as a bully and with an iron fist, but also he takes advantage of you feeling low.
Yeah, and it's a really good fit. And it's like when Brody Lee did arrive in AEW, I was like, oh my God, they're going down this path with him. But then I was like, yeah, this is a good fit. I really like this fit. And then after this match as well, Lance Archer jumped Sonny Kiss and Joey Janela, and then Joey went to throw a steel chair at Lance Archer and didn't really work out too well, and just nailed him with a big boot. And yeah, Lance Archer is just continuing to run roughshod after he didn't win the TNT Championship, and he's showing that he's still a beast that should be taken seriously, and he's making sure Jake the Snake had to keep Lance Archer from going after Janela too hard, because after he hit that big boot, he wanted to continue laying beatings on Joey and Sonny Kiss. So I expect that we're going to see more between them in the future.
And that personality dynamic has taken a change. I respect Jake the Snake, but when he was first starting, I thought all his promos were about him and not how big of a badass Lance Archer is. Again, great pivot. He took a note, and now he can't control Lance Archer. And he's even afraid of Lance Archer. He doesn't know what he wants to do. He's saving Lance Archer's victims because Lance Archer is too crazy and going too hard. I love it. When people say, oh, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, Jake the Snake has adjusted his role in this relationship very well.
Very much so, yeah. And I'm excited to see what else he does. Now we get to your boys. We get to FTR taking on SCU. So Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler taking on Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian. And I love this match. Just the way that Dax and Cash just worked Frankie just repeatedly, just working on the arm, going crazy old school tag team wrestling, just working a single body part and just wrenching it repeatedly throughout the rest of the match. And they just kept isolating them, and they just kept doing vicious moves. SCU had a lot of great spots in there as well, and it's like two freaking awesome tag teams just putting a clinic on how to do a freaking solid tag team matchup. And it was just hugely entertaining, and it was a big victory as well for FTR. And what did you think of this match? I want to hear your thoughts.
This was my favorite match that I saw all week.
Not surprised.
Not shocking at all. This was straight 80s tag team. And the reason I say this was more of an 80s face versus face tag team. The thing about FTR is they haven't worked heel yet. They work body parts, they cut off the ring, but everything that they do right now is legal. And in certain parts of it, when they did the hot tag, Cash Wheeler hot tag Dax Harwood. And that was the hot tag is usually reserved, for the face tag team. So this was a great face versus face battle. It was very hard hitting. Amy Phoenix AEW, who used to be a host on this show, she said this is like a strong style that they brought, and that's really what it was. It was kicks, punches, moves. Then not a lot of flips. I mean, Cash Wheeler busted out a surprising Hurricane Rana, or Frankensteiner, and people were like, I thought you said no flips. Well, as they do in their matches, that was an ode to the Steiner brothers, who the Frankensteiner was named by Scott Steiner. He used to do that move in the matches. They were very physical people, but, he still busted out a Frankensteiner every now and then. So, you then got the suplex splash combination attempt. You got a Vegematic, which is when he was holding the guy and then he dropped and did the leg drop. Again, straight out to the Midnight Express. SCU, very crisp tag team. Lots of great double team maneuvers. I love that they were kind of booked as even. I mean, I know I could go on this match. I mean, seriously, we could do another hour show just about this match because I love tag team wrestling so much. But the highlight of the match, and if you listen to my other show, Wrestle Around the Ring on WrestleJoy, you will hear that this is probably going to be high on my list, is when my boy, Dax Harwood, he hit a slingshot suplex. Now, I know a lot of people, I don't know, had you ever seen a slingshot suplex?
Not in a while. If I haven't seen it in a while. I was
say, that was Tully Blanchard's finishing move in the 80s. He would hit a slingshot suplex, and that's how he would get the 1, 2, 3. So he hits the slingshot suplex, and then he throws up the 4. And again, Four Horsemen, my favorite faction of all time, my favorite group of all time. I have more different stuff that I've had signed and stuff from the Four Horsemen than any wrestling group ever. So they were my childhood. They were my heroes. Arn Anderson, my favorite wrestler of all time. So to give a shout out to the Four Horsemen, where if you're looking at it, you're looking at a lot of hints of people throwing up the 4, and there's only a certain amount of people throwing up this 4. And it's like, is it breadcrumbs? Is it little things leading to what I hope is the emergence of a new horseman? Maybe not. That's off the line. But that moment when he threw up the 4, I'm literally in my chair and I jump out of it. And I'm like, me, I'm an excitable person as it is. If you can't tell by when I'm talking, my wife is like, what the hell are you doing? What is wrong? What happened? And I just kept screaming, he threw up the 4. He threw up the 4. She didn't know what the hell I was talking about. Because, she couldn't care less. And I did it and she showed it. She's like, is he part of the Four Horsemen? And the fact that she got that made me love her even more.
Yeah.
So, there was an actual moment where I felt more in love with my wife. And it was like that she knew what I was talking about there. So, yeah. This was amazing. I love that the finish kind of came out of nowhere. And it was kind of ugly, because that's what wrestling used to be. I mean, wrestling is pretty now. It is Okada versus Omega. It is Will Ospreay versus Ricochet, which I am fine with. I love it. I am old, but I with wrestling, I can change with the times. But this was old school and grimy, and not everything was smooth. And it really does make it look more like a fight to me. And that's what I love about FTR. I thought SCU was the perfect tag team partners. I would be shocked if anybody does it any better than that.
No, man. I'm like, once I saw that 4 too, I'm like, Floyd just lost his shit right there. I'm like, it's done. Because every time that 4 gets thrown up, I know instantly, like, they're teasing it so hard, and I know Floyd's going nuts about it. And yeah, after the match, Butcher and the Blade took hostage FTR's pickup truck, and then the Lucha Bros made their return, jumping behind Dax and Cash, and they challenged FTR and the Young Bucks to an 8-man tag match at Fyter Fest, which, holy shit, that's my match that I'm looking forward to the most. Yes.
Again, this is like Lucha Bros. If you heard me last week, I said I can't wait. They're probably part of my 3 favorite tag teams ever. I even said that last week. And it was like, at this point in time, in the ring were the Lucha Bros and FTR, and then came out the Young Bucks. So it was like, 1, 2, 3, let's fight. Like, the only way this could have been better if it was like Lucha Bros and Proud and Powerful against these same 4 people. Because you would literally have 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the ring at the same time. But I love the Butcher and the Blade. They're, to me, again, 80s, very much an 80s tag team. Throwback tag team, grimy. Their match with FTR I thought was really good. So it leading to the rivalry in here. And then, yeah, Lucha Bros, the most exciting tag team in the world. I can't say it's a lot really close. Ray Phoenix does something every match that I've never seen before. Pentagon has this natural charisma that he took 3 fingers going up and 3 fingers going down and made it a thing. So, a dude that doesn't even speak the language has people chanting a Spanish phrase. So how much charisma do you have to do that, to pull that over? So I'm super excited about this match. I imagine it's going to go crazy, and it's going to have a bunch of people yelling about that there's no rules in AEW, and I love it because 8-man tags are supposed to be pandemonium. I generally hate multi-man tags, but this one, there's a story behind it. If you haven't paid attention, FTR has been taking shots at the Lucha Bros since they got there, saying that we're going to teach them tag team wrestling because, put the tag in tag team wrestling because they don't know how to tag. Again, I understand because you don't have to actually tag in Mexico, so it's more of a suggestion than a hard rule. So when they wrestle here, I could see, you get confused, but FTR has really been going at Lucha Bros when it comes to tag. So there's a story there. They're Butcher and the Blade. They want to be noticed, and they know the best way to get noticed is go after best. And of course, FTR is trying to take that step over everybody to get to the tag belts. So again, you can see other tag teams having problems with them. And then the Young Bucks, that tenuous relationship between the Young Bucks and FTR. Are they going to be able to get along? Are they going to turn on each other? Oh my God, I'm excited for that match.
Oh yeah, this is like so much to look forward to in Lab. Like you said, like 8-man tags can be at times too much. This is just right, I think. Just the right amount of much. And I think it's just going to be absolute chaos in the best possible way. We then had a really solid video package hyping up the team titles match between Best Friends and Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page that's taking place at Fyter Fest. I'm so happy that Best Friends are getting this shot. I've been saying it forever. I think Best Friends have been overdue for a tag team title shot. They even said in the video package, everywhere we've gone, we've never been tag champions. So this is their moment where they can really get a shot. And Kenny Omega and Hangman talked about how they may not be great friends. They're definitely not best friends, but they're the best wrestlers and they're the best tag team that's in AEW right now. And that's the reason why they have that title. It's a match that I think a lot of people should be keeping their eyes on because, they literally said, we decided to have the best tag team match in all of wrestling just like that. So,
yeah, Kenny Omega kind of came off of as a dick if you were paying attention.
Oh, a little bit. Yeah, no.
Yeah, he's like, we decided to be the tag team. Damn, just like that, we're the champions. He was kind of a dick, and I kind of dug it. I like this whole video package. Again, did a good job of building the Best Friends as a legitimate team that actually has a chance of winning because I had kind of wrote them off as just, a carryover champion to the next event. Now they've kind of sold me on the fact that the Best Friends could win.
Yeah, and again, Kenny too, like with those comments made, like he's building himself up. He's getting that ego going too, because like he was called the best wrestler in the world for years, and now he's kind of not much have been said about that for a while. But now he's like, oh no, I'm still the best, and I'm teaming with the best too, because we became champions. We wanted to be champions, then we became champions. It was that easy. We wanted the best tag team match of all time. We made the best tag team match of all time. Didn't take that long. So like he's carrying himself like he knows he's the best. So it'll be interesting to see how the dynamic goes as we go into that match at Fyter Fest. So I'm really pumped about that. We then had. Oh, go ahead.
I just said me too.
Oh, yeah. We then had the very, 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 very short match between Brian Cage and John Cruz. I am sorry, John, you got murdered tonight. Taz was on commentary for a little bit, just hyping up Brian Cage. But then he comes out. This match was supposed to be Jon Moxley versus John Cruz, but Moxley was decided not to attend because he did come in contact with somebody with COVID-19, specifically Renee Young, his lovely wife, had tested positive for COVID-19, so she quarantined, and because he's been in contact with her, he also took the time to step away. I believe he still should be good for week 2 of Fyter Fest, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's still set to go for that, so there's no worry about the match being canceled and whatnot. Also, our hearts go out to Renee. We're hoping she's doing well. And everything that's going on too with the amount of cases that popped up at the Performance Center. Yeah, we're hoping everybody's doing okay.
Get well soon. Get well soon, Renee. She's been tweeting and she seems to be feeling better. So hopefully Moxley does his isolation and he gets out of the woods. In this case, very much, you won't hear me say this very much. In this case, wrestling comes definitely a far, far second. I want to make sure Moxley's healthy and that he's not in Jacksonville handing it out to other people. So I definitely take his time, get better, take care of your wife. There are things in the world more important than wrestling. I don't say that much. I don't say that very often, and my wife would probably be shocked to hear that. But there are things more important than wrestling in life.
Yeah, no,
like
100%.
Life, like living,
like living and being healthy. Yes, 100%.
Yes, living being more important than wrestling.
Yes, you can defend your title at a different point if that's the case, so it's fine. But Taz and just stared directly in the camera after Brian Cage picked up the quick victory and just said, "You are staring at your fate right here, and can you stop the path of Cage?" And he wants you to ask yourself that. So this match is still getting built. Again, we're hoping that Moxley's still good to go when Fyter Fest comes around. He's going to be taking part of week 2, so we have another week to see how that situation pans out in the future. After that, we had a backstage segment with Brody Lee and Colt Cabana. Brody Lee asked Colt Cabana for one more chance to show him how good winning feels, how good victory feels, and he asks him to tag with him to face SCU at Fyter Fest. So we're going to get to see another chance to see Brody Lee and Colt Cabana teaming together. So I'm interested to see how this goes because SCU is a more formidable opponent in the tag team division. So we'll have to see former tag team champions, obviously. So we'll see
it's even
how this
more
matchup goes on.
Because how in the story of, Colt coming to AEW, he came in with SCU.
Yeah.
That was the team he came in with. He was kind of tied to SCU for a while. Now he has to fight them against the Dark Order, which, a lot of people thought Chris Daniels was the Exalted One. So it's just like there's a whole bunch of threads connecting here. And I'm like, if Colt Cabana and Brody Lee get the win, are they, they'll be 2-0 against two good tag teams. Are they going to, be on the tag team title chase? And then they already have Evil Uno and Stu. So there's so many threads in this match. Like, I would call this, and I hate to call it this, but I love feuds and storylines that have nothing to do with the title but are still intriguing, and that's what this is right now. It's like no belts are on the line, nothing, but it's so intriguing that you have to pay attention.
Yeah, no, 100%. And also remember the history with CD with the Dark Order, how we didn't necessarily know if CD at a point in time, we didn't know if he was the Exalted One or if he was joining the Dark Order. There was a lot of mystery surrounding that. So there's still history between SCU and the Dark Order. So there's a lot that's going into this matchup. So it's
not just like a nothing match they put together.
No, of course not.
Each person has a part in this story, that has to do with Colt Cabana and Brody Lee. Brody Lee still has beef with Christopher Daniels for saying he didn't exist, and Frankie K was saying he didn't exist. So it's like, okay, This is not just a random match. We needed a fill-in match for Fyter Fest. This match has a story. Whoever wins it matters. If Brody Lee and Colt matters, it's like, Colt, you keep winning with him. When are you going to accept that this is fake? If they lose, Brody Lee is like, Colt's, he's not a winner, and he's kind of going back on his word. So I'm really looking forward to this match.
Oh, yeah, me as well. And then afterwards, it's something else I'm looking forward to. The continuing back and forth between Big Swole and Dr. Britt Baker. So Britt Baker, in response to what happened last week when Big Swole hijacked her Rolls Royce, proceeded to surround her Rolls Royce with plexiglass so that way she wouldn't be thrown into the dumpster again. Big Swole then all of a sudden just starts coming up on her, and Dr. Britt Baker is just taunting her a little bit because he's like, you can't get to me. She called her trash at one point, and Big Swole's response to that was to go back, climb on top of the Rolls Royce from behind, and then just carried a trash can and dumped it on Britt Baker, and turns out she was the one who was trash, and Britt's just screaming and just losing it and just absolutely furious. Like, Big Swole got her again, got one up on her again, and you can expect that. I'm sure retaliation is the one thing that's on Britt Baker's mind, and I'm just loving these segments together. I'm very much looking
forward to that new security guard getting fired.
Yeah, it seems like that's probably going to be the case because 2 weeks in a row, that's not a great sign. It's not a great trend to be happening. We then had our next match, which was Broken Matt Hardy, also known as Damascus. He took on Santana of Pride and Powerful. And this match was a really, really solid match, too. Anytime I can see Broken Matt Hardy wrestle is always a great chance. But also, the one thing that I really took away from this match the most, and it's the one thing that I've really taken away from Santana and the way that him and Ortiz work off each other. It's like one of my favorite things about them was Ortiz on the outside. Like when Santana was getting beaten up and he was getting into a vulnerable position and he was starting to lose it a little bit more, Ortiz just kept shouting. He's like, he's trying to take your food. He's trying to take your spot. He's coming after you. You gotta fight, because Santana, like in previous video packages in previous weeks on Dynamite, talked about how he fought so much to get to where he is, and how many trials and tribulations he had to gone through. And Ortiz using that as a way to try to get his partner back into the game was a moment that I was like, it was a slight moment that I noticed, and then I was like taken aback from it a little bit, and it was something that I really enjoyed seeing. And it's just Ortiz and Santana knowing each other really well, and the match itself was really solid, and it was a great little sequence in the finish of Santana went for a pinning combination, took a bit too much time, and then the veteran Matt Hardy was able to get the roll up and get the victory overall. So what'd you think of this, Floyd?
Very entertaining match. I thought they told the story of Matt Hardy well. He's like not going to be a super bell-to-bell guy, so I like that they kept the match kind of short, and they pretty much leaned into what he was strong at, and that is what you're going to need to do with Matt Hardy. And I do like that Proud and Powerful is booked as being stronger together than they are apart, because as soon as the match was over, they hit the street sweeper, and you saw they are a dominant tag team. They're just not as dominant as singles.
Yeah, and I think that's because we haven't really seen them too often in singles matches, and I think having the veteran Matt Hardy go over on a tag team wrestler definitely made the most sense. And also, after that, like you said, after that street sweeper was hit, Private Party comes to even the odds. Obviously, Matt Hardy is taking them under his wing, so they then were able to even the odds a little bit. So overall, it was really solid, and I really enjoyed it. We then had the main event, which was the face-off between Le Champion, Chris Jericho, and freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy. Now, I'm really intrigued to hear, Floyd, your thoughts off this real quick before I say anything. So I want to hear your thoughts on this.
Okay, Chris Jericho is a master.
Yes.
He took "Why did the chicken cross the road?" and he kept saying it. And I'm like, what the fuck is he getting to? I saved one F-bomb for the end of the show. Where is he going with this? I'm like, why did he cross the road? And then he broke it down. And I was like, do you know that's exactly how people have told me they felt about Orange Cassidy? Like, exactly. They're like, you saw him the first time, it's awesome. You see him the second time, it's awesome. Third or fourth time, you're like, well, he's not doing anything. Why should I care? And it was hilarious. And he brought it together so well. And it's like, Tiffany has once told me that she thinks Jericho is the greatest of all time. And with every week and every promo and every commentary and every great match, I'm having less and less of an argument against her.
Yeah.
He's just so good. And it elevated the profile of this match. Orange Cassidy is like, he matters. And to everybody that's going to be watching him for the first time, he's going to perform well. And it's just, I am so excited about this match that I did not care about. Like, I had heard it was going to be a match, and I didn't care about it at all. But now I'm just like, are they going to go with OC? Is OC going to beat, is going to beat Chris Jericho? Or how's this going to work out? And it's just like, Chris Jericho's so good, he can beat you and still get you over.
Oh, yeah. No, and like you said, that when he was just repeating that joke, I'm like, what on earth? Like, why are we doing this? I'm like, I had like one moment where I had flashbacks of suffering succotash shit, and I was like, no. So I was a little bit nervous, but then when I realized what he was going with, I was like, that's fucking genius. I was so for it. Just, it's a joke everyone knows, but the more you hear it, the more annoying you realize it is, and that's what Orange Cassidy is. And I was like, oh my God, the little journey you took us on with that. Like, he's just such a good promo. He's such a good promo. And he's just, yeah, I totally understand why people would consider him the greatest of all time. I mean, he's been calling himself that for a very good while. And it's harder and harder to argue against it, because it's just, he comes out and he proves it every single week. Orange Cassidy just taunts him at first and just starts doing those light kicks. Shows he's not intimidating until Chris Jericho grabs those Ray-Bans off of OC's face and then breaks them in his own hands. And then that's when Orange Cassidy just breaks out of it, starts laying into Jericho. They start brawling all throughout the ring until Jericho takes a jib camera and then swings it into OC's face to the point where he's busted open, like right behind his ear. And then Orange Cassidy then throws him down onto the railing until he runs up the stairs of the Daily's place, runs down, nails him with a Superman punch, and Jericho goes flying through a table. And it was a great finish to lead into Fyter Fest. I thought it was a great moment to get people hyped for week 1 of Fyter Fest and get people hyped for how huge these 2 weeks are going to be for AEW. I have no complaints with this segment whatsoever.
So the Superman punch is kind of like his official finisher, which is cool, and I think this match established it, and it established that Orange Cassidy has a killer instinct, and sometimes you can bleed unnecessarily, and it not help a match at all. But this blood, which was accidental, completely accidental, helped this segment so much. It just added an intensity to Orange Cassidy. Now there's an Orange Cassidy t-shirt with him bleeding on it, and that you can buy at Pro Wrestling Tees or shopaew.com. It's going to be amazing. I'm really looking forward to this match. This is I think it's like the week 2 co-main event, and it's just it's a lot of heat. You'll hear more of my thoughts on it Wednesday, like who I think's gonna win, after the other show. But I was just fired up. I thought this was a great ending to Dynamite. Thought it was a great ending to Dynamite.
Yeah, and we got a lot to look forward to for Fyter Fest Night 1. So let's get into our predictions and our thoughts of Night 1 of Fyter Fest, which takes place on July 1st. So we know Chris Jericho will be on commentary for the show, so there's a plus. However, 4-person commentary, it gets to a point, like, I get a little nervous of people getting their stuff in. So we'll see how that turns out. I just want to make sure that everyone gets their stuff in and doesn't get too cluttered.
Yeah, Excalibur's usually the one that goes away when they add the fourth person.
Yeah, which is a shame because he calls everything so well.
Yeah, and it's like, it's one of those things where you have almost too much talent. Whenever they get that second show on TNT, I think they're going to go down to two-man teams, and I think that would be great.
I think that'll be the perfect setup right there, I think, just because it makes it way less cluttered and it's easier for commentary to flow way better. And I will judge that so much because I care so much about commentary and pro wrestling. So I'm hopeful that it'll still work out, but 4-person commentary teams scare me. So let's hope it's okay. We have Private Party taking on Proud and Powerful after that little incident between Matt Hardy, and that's going to be a really solid match to open up the show. You got 2 crazy good tag teams just going back and forth, so that'll be a great opening.
Good change there because I accidentally put LAX on the notes. So.
Oh no!
Good mental change there. I just noticed that I did it.
We're looking at Google Drive right now, and I see LAX, and I'm like, nope, not saying that.
Yes, good job there. These 2 teams have worked a lot together. We got a match with them as a tribute to Chris Travis like a few months ago, and I even thought at that time I thought they left something on the table. With this being a pay-per-view quality match and night 1 probably the first match, I don't think they're going to leave anything on the table.
I think this is the match where they're really going to let it all go, and it's with it most likely opening the show. I think they're just going to let it all fly out. If I had to guess who I think would go over in this matchup, I'm going to go with Private Party.
I am going to go with Proud and Powerful. Matt Hardy's going to come out with Private Party, as they're called Hardy Party, and then Jericho's going to be on commentary. So it's like they're both going to have their veteran mentors. But, I think Proud and Powerful is one of those teams that I don't think gets enough credit for how good they are.
Oh, yeah.
So I do think, they might go ahead and get the win here to maybe build to something going future. But if Proud and Powerful if Private Party gets the win, I could see that leading more to a 6-man coming up.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm thinking, just because also I feel like Private Party are kind of like when they were wrestling in the tag team tournament and they beat the Young Bucks is when they really got hot and people really started taking notice. And Proud and Powerful, with them being with the Inner Circle, their stock has still been relatively high just because they've been showcasing themselves a lot. I think Private Party is due for a good win, and with it being on a pay-per-view like show, I think they'll be the people to go over.
Absolutely. I could see that. I could see it actually going both ways. But yeah, your prediction in. I love that we're going against each other.
We'll see. We'll see who comes out on top on these predictions.
Yes.
We'll turn into like some Cultaholic shit where we'll have punishments. We won't. We're not going to do that.
We're not going to do it.
We then have the women's championship match between Hikaru Shida and Penelope Ford, as of course all 4 titles will be defended through these 2 nights. And Shida is really starting to get going being the women's champion. I love Penelope, but I see Hikaru Shida going over very easily in this matchup.
Yes, I love Penelope Ford, and I think she's going to give a good effort, and she can do a lot of high spots, but I don't think she's ready to be the world champion yet. I think she's only in this match because of injuries. And that's nothing wrong with that because you have to take advantage of the shots you get in wrestling. But that being said, I think she'll have a strong showing, but Hikaru Shida ends up getting the win in the end.
Yep, and then after this we have the team of Jurassic Express with Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy taking on Wardlow and MJF. This one I'm actually leaning towards Wardlow and MJF because the heat streak that MJF has been on has been so strong, and I think after and part of me is like, well, after Wardlow got the win with shenanigans with the low blow, I'm thinking, well, Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy might come over on this one, but at the same time, MJF has been like unstoppable, and I just think I'm leaning towards MJF and Wardlow in this match, and I'm not exactly sure why, but that's who I'm leaning towards.
I think Jurassic Express are more of a tag team, and they're an established tag team in the company. So I think they get the win. I think that because with Wardlow beating MJ, Luchasaurus, with MJF beating Jungle Boy, it really is. This feud's getting really, really one-sided. So I think if you want to keep heat there, you have to give Jurassic Express a win eventually. So I think this will be where they win.
Yeah, it's this one's probably the one I'm not the most confident with. So I can totally.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm not confident
Jurassic
either
Express.
way because they have. I mean, MJF is a pushed wrestler. You know,
yeah.
He doesn't lose. He doesn't get pinned. So them winning makes a ton of sense. But I think this is a feud they want to go on for a while. So the only way a feud can really go on is if the other guy wins. Otherwise, it's just, a rout. It's just this. Okay, MJF beats you every time. So let's change it up. And then you have the wild card, which is Marco Stunt, who he's a 5'3" person inside. He's a 5'3" person on the outside, and I think I might be giving him 2 inches, but I'm gonna call him 5'3". But he's 6'7" on the inside.
Oh yeah. So there's always the worry, Marco, because that. I mean, I don't want to compare him to Scrappy Doo, but all I see when I see Marco is Scrappy Doo.
Yes. He reminds me of. I don't know. This probably might precede your wrestling, but there was a wrestler back in the day. He was Bob Carly's brother called Crash Holly.
Of course, I know Crash.
Oh, I don't know how far you go back. And I go
far. I go a bit far.
Yeah, he was short, but he called himself a super heavyweight. He just had this. He was like, I'm only this tall, but I'm 6'8" in my heart, and that's how I feel about Marco Stunt.
I will say one thing more about Marco. If I ever get the chance to meet Marco, because I haven't gotten the chance to meet him yet, I need to sing a duet with him because he's actually a really freaking solid singer. So I want to do a duet with him on karaoke or some shit. So I need to make that happen. Now we have the tag team championship match between Kenny Omega and Hangman Page versus Best Friends. I'm going with my heart with this one. I want Best Friends to take the titles. I just want them to take the titles. I think the seeds are still there from Revolution, from when we nearly saw the turn with Hangman and Kenny Omega. I don't know if tonight this Fyter Fest will be the night that happens. I don't know, but considering this is Best Friends' first really big shot that they're getting, I want to see them actually pull it off.
I can see some tearing at the seams in this match, but ultimately I think Omega and Page are gonna win. I personally would love the Best Friends to win. I would love the tag team titles to be on an established named tag team. That's one of my bugaboos. I tell everybody all the time, I am a AEW fanboy. I love it, but they do not do 100% everything I would do. With tag team wrestling really mattering, I want their belts on a tag team. So the fact that Omega and Page are kind of just thrown together, it's kind of like you get get something like a rock caught in your sock. It's not hurting you, but it's kind of annoying. That's what them having the belts are to me.
Yeah, not saying that they're doing anything bad with them. They've been unbelievable, but yeah, I totally with you there, and that's why I want
you have the best tag teams in the world on your company. You have the best tag teams, career tag teams, never breaking up tag teams in the world in your company, and your belts are on two people. Everybody's just kind of waiting to break up.
Yeah, and I think that we're getting to the point where the breakup is going to happen sooner than we think. So
absolutely.
I'm thinking it might be when Best Friends win the title, but that's my thought. Then we finish off with the main event of night one, the TNT Championship between Cody and Jake Hager. I feel like we're both going with Cody with this one.
Yeah, I think when they announced this match, I said there's a snowball's chance in hell that Hager actually wins.
Yeah, I mean, TNT Championship is what Cody is looking to build right now, so I think he's going to hold on to that for a while.
Real fight, this would last like 2 seconds and Hager would kill him. But in a wrestling match, Hager's a nice big threat towards him, but I feel like you're going to kind of see who. I think this is going to lead to seeing who Cody's next challenger or next opponent is, because really there is no heat behind this match. I love this match. I love Cody. He is my favorite wrestler, but there is zero heat behind this match. There's like no one that I know, casual or not casual, thinks Cody can lose this match. So therefore, most people don't care about it. I want you to care about it. I need you to care about it. I love Cody. And don't get me wrong. It's just, I don't know if it was the COVID thing or whatever. And maybe it's him defending the title every week. It just feels like there has been no build for this match. Yeah, I know they tried. They tried. Don't get me wrong. It's just, like I said, I don't know. Maybe am I on the island here?
I think like with the every week championship defenses, I think you definitely lose the luster, I think, for when the title defenses happen. I think maybe after Hager wins the title, goes after the title on Fyter Fest and after this match, maybe have Cody just hold on to it for a little bit and have like people try to chase for a title defense, because then when it happens, it's something that a lot more people will take note of. Yes. And I think just there are positives to an every week open challenge. We've seen it with Cena. We've seen it a little bit with Cody. But I think also you lose a little bit for the title defenses. So I think maybe take a couple weeks.
It's ringing like, if anyone watched Buffy the Vampire TV show and they just had their monster of the week and, Buffy would kill it and you never see it again. That's what Cody's title reign has come off as. It doesn't feel like anybody's a credible threat to win. Here's the monster of the week for Cody to vanquish.
Yeah, just give it some time, I think, and give more time to build to these because we've already established, like, because people have we've already established that Cody, like, he said every week, he didn't defend it this week, so like the every week argument doesn't need to be used of him defending it every single week.
Exactly. So he's coming off more of as a mid-season bad guy than a season finale bad guy. And the mid-season bad guy can't win. They're strong, but they're going to lose. They're going to lose because you still got a whole nother half of the season to go. That's what if using TV terms, that's what Jake Hager feels like. He's a threat, but you don't think he's going to win. And now, I think it would be a home run if Jake Hager just comes in and beats the shit out of Cody and wins.
Like goes 2 minute,
2 minute, like, power bomb, boom, boom, just be stronger and faster than Cody's ready for. I think that would lead to the every week nature of this title, and that would keep you on your toes. But if Cody goes ahead and wins, and he just wins, or if there's nothing fishy about the finish or something, again, it'll just feel like Geek of the Week.
Yeah, and I think now that we've kind of gone off he hasn't defended it every single week, and there's positives and negatives to this whole open challenge thing, and it just seems like for your secondary title, like, it needs to feel just as big, and it shouldn't be feel like, oh, who's gonna lose to Cody this week? Who's gonna lose to Cody this week? So we'll see how things change, but I think just giving it more time for competitors to come challenge for the title will make it way bigger, I think. But anyways, that'll wrap it up for this week's episode of All Things Elite. Thank you guys so much for listening. Real quick before we sign off, be sure again to support us by following us on social media. Follow the podcast at ATE at AT Elite Podcast, like ATE Pod. Follow Social Suplex at Social Suplex. Follow myself at SZoomer4, and follow Floyd at Floyd Johnson Jr., there's nothing left to do but let my buddy Floyd take us home here for tonight.
I want to wish everybody a happy and safe week. I hope you are wearing your mask, taking whatever social precautions that you deem necessary for yourself, and you're looking out for others to help them not get sick. If you've seen it in other countries, and this is not political, it seems like getting rid of COVID is a team effort. Now, it's not going to be a vaccine. It's not going to be any one person doing anything. It is a collective team effort of walking out for each other. So I advise everybody, wear your mask, social distance, whatever you can to help the next person. Not yourself, the next person. And I would like you to make sure you are tuning in to AEW Dynamite this week. Unfortunately, they lost in the ratings to WWE. I know people are still watching the show, so make sure you're tuning in Wednesday nights. And NXT's doing their thing this week. Make sure after you watch AEW, go watch them too, because then you can't get enough wrestling. But I want to remind you, as I always do, as we're getting back to this week, whether you are home, school, or work, always do your best to be elite.